I want to welcome you all to my summer kitchen here. I'm going to be talking a little bit about wood stoves, wood kitchen ranges, and I thought I'd go over that in just a minute. But first I thought I'd give you a quick tour of the summer kitchen. This is the new summer kitchen, so it's a smaller one, but it works fine, it's great. Not everything's done in it yet, and I'll explain that as we go, but we'll start over here. Got this bench actually out of it was going into a dump. One second, I'm going to hook you guys on there. One second. Okay, now we're done. I bought this bench it was going into a dump. Guy was throwing it away because he said it was too rickety, so I said, well, I'll take it. And we drilled new holes in it and tightened it, and you can see it's really tight now. In fact, it's tight enough now that I can do, I've milled some grain on it, so got that here. We just did beeswax just the other day, so I haven't got that, all of it put away yet. I got the other two blocks put away, but I haven't got that block put away yet, so I got to do that yet. This is where I got some cast iron down here, and that's because cast iron and wood burning ranges go together. They're just meant to go together. And then I've got my press back here. We were going to build shelves, but then my great aunt, she says, oh, I've got this thing down in the basement that I don't want, so I didn't have to pay or buy any lumber or go out and look for shelves or buy any. I just got this given to me. I got my leather breeches. These are drying, these are called leather breeches, and it's an old-fashioned way of drying green beans. We had so many green beans this year. I've got these things hanging all over the place. I got to get them all into a glass jar now that they're dry. But it's just a few. This is just a place for me to put some things, that I need. We have yet to put electricity out here. That may not go in before winter. I've got the solar panels, but the wind turbine has yet to come. I'm putting up one turbine and 2 solar panels on it. And then we'll have a little extra, but I had to show you. I found this little lady here at a secondhand store, so I picked her up and I just fell in love with her, and I didn't know what to do with her. And she's going to sit out here and be a salt holder for me, so she gets to sit up there, and she gets to keep an eye out over the summer kitchen here. On this side, this is where the other part we haven't finished. We haven't put the electricity in yet, and this is the other part that we haven't done yet. This table here, my 9-year-old niece made this, so if people are out there thinking I can't do stuff, a 9-year-old girl did this. So if she can do it, anybody can. But this will move down closer to the wood box, and we are going to put, I've got everything for it, but we're going to put a drive point well in there, and then I'll have a hand pump for water. The reason we haven't is because it's been a hot, dry summer, and the ground basically turned to concrete, and so we can't put a dry point well down until we get enough rain to soften the ground up a little bit. Nothing goes better on wood burning stoves than popcorn, so I put some of my popcorn out here. I've got plenty and scattered around at the different wood burning stoves, so that's so I've got my popcorn here. I don't have a lot of, little things that I keep knickknacks and stuff, but I do keep a picture of my dad. My father passed away in 1983. This is probably the only time he ever wore a suit. And so he got, of course, his picture taken. Dad was a big outdoors person. Actually, we called him the swamp rat. And then this is my great-grandma, when she was very young. My great-grandmother came across the United States in a covered wagon to Wisconsin, and she lived to see a man land on the moon. So think of that lifetime, to start before automobiles and to watch somebody leave the planet and land on a distant satellite. And she lived a very unique life, and she was my inspiration and one of the people who taught me a lot of things as a child. So this is a picture of her when she was a young lady, or an older girl or a young lady, and with her puppy. And that one always inspires me too, because I have all my animals and everything. Anyway, moving on from there, we need a wood box. If you're going to have kitchen range. Doesn't always have to go right next to the kitchen range, because of course this is a smaller building. It kind of does. This was a friend of mine gave this to me, and it fits perfect right underneath the window, so it works great for me. And then we've got the little newspaper box next to it. Kitchen range, which is what we're going to come back to, and this one is what my older niece, my 13-year-old niece, made for me. So then that is really, and then there's the door, and then we turn and come back around. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this kitchen stove. So let's get started on that, because this has become a really big thing. I just bought my 12th one. I have 11 on the farm right now, and I just bought my 12th one at a auction 2 days ago. And so I will soon have 12 of them here. And I was raised on this. In fact, for the first 16 years of my life, I didn't cook on anything but a kitchen range. My parents did not have electricity or gas or anything until I was 16 years old. So I was raised on one of these. And then I went away to college when I was 17. And when I came back at age, 24 I would have been, I think. Don't quote me on that, it would have been 23 or 24, but when I came back to live on my aunt's farm, she did not have electricity, so I had to cook again for a few years exclusively on this until I put my off-grid system on so that I would have electricity. And we also brought LP in, so I would have a gas stove. But I still cook on these, so most of my life has spent cooking on these, and a good chunk of my life has been, this is the only way I could cook. If you're going to buy one of these, especially used, there are plenty of them out there. Obviously, I'm a cheapskate. I don't spend a lot of money. I just bought one for $100. This one here I bought for $100. And they come rusty. Rust is not your big worry. You're not all upset about rust. Rust cleans off. You can get sandpaper and scrubbies and not scrubbies, what am I looking for? Steel wool, and work that off. It takes a lot of elbow grease. There also is some rust removers out there that work pretty well. Very toxic though, so be careful when you're using them. But rust is not the end-all be-all of existence. This one even had a little bit of pitting. If you see here, the surface is a little bit rough here. That's just got too much rust on it. But it cleans up, and then you stove black over the top of that. Put stove black, and that you do once a year. And stove black is like it's a wax-based polish, and you put it on, heat the stove up, and it melts. The heat of the stove melts the wax into the top. And about once a year you do that, and it protects it from the rust. And you can do that on any part of the surface that is cast iron or needs to be protected from rust. So the rust isn't the big thing. I'm going to just go over different pieces and parts of the stove, and I'll show you the part that you really, really have to look for. But I am going to talk about a couple parts that for me would be a deal breaker, as in I would not buy the stove if they didn't have it. And the first here is, this stove is in 3 different parts. Let me just one second. I'm going to go. I'll be right back. Okay, I hope you guys can see it, because the sun is coming through that window right there. But just real quick, while you're on your tether, these have 3 different parts to it. And the first part is this part up here, and this is called the warming oven. Not every wood-burning kitchen range has one of these. Don't worry if yours doesn't. These were for more bigger families, or for people who had to cook for like farm help, things like that. It was made for when every burner was going on the stove and you had your water boiling for your dishes, because this was being used before there was tap water. You just turned the water on and there was hot water. You had to boil your hot water. So if you wanted warm water, you needed to boil it. So you'd have every burner going, and the oven was going, and you still had more stuff to be cooking. And so then when something got done, you would take it off and put it in the warming oven. A lot of people say, well, this has got 6 burners on it. It's a huge stove. We'll talk about that in just a little bit, but actually it only has 2 burners, because there is no little knob on this that adjusts the heat. So basically this is your high, this is your medium, and this is your low. You moved your pan around instead of spot cooked. And just left one pan here and spot cooked and turned it down and turned it up like that. When you'd start boiling your water perhaps on high, and then you'd turn it to medium for cook, and then for a low simmer you'd move it over. So anyway, so this is the warming oven, and that's one piece basically from the stove top on up. It's not a necessary piece, and if you don't have it, in fact I have one stove that does not have one. I come from farm country, so for the most part we do have them, but if you find them, you're going to find one with a warming oven because big farm families needed them. But a lot of them don't. If you don't have yours, it's no big deal. What I mainly use mine for is in the one in the house, I put sourdough on top, and it's the perfect, because this is the warming shelf and then this is the warming oven, and it's the perfect heat for keeping the sourdough, and it's right there, you can just see it, so you can just go up and get it. Then you got your stove itself, the stove oven, and that goes down to here. This is all one piece. Well, it's not all the little pieces can come off of it, but it's sold as one piece. And then you get your base. And here's the one part that would be the deal breaker for me. The base, these stoves can go anywhere from 200 pounds to 1,000 pounds, depending on how much cast iron they are. This one goes about 375, and the base is this very lightweight thing, and when you pick it up you're like, there's no way this base is going to hold this 300-pound stove. But the design of it is made so that when the stove sits on it, the weight of the stove makes the base stronger. And the base would be a big deal breaker for me. If it was broke, if it was bent, if it had any kind of warp to it, I would not buy it. Yes, you can prop, if you find a free or a very inexpensive stove, you can prop them up on bricks, but now you have an unstable situation, and an unstable situation with fire inside a house is not good in my opinion. If you have, if you live in an area where there's earthquakes, I would never think of propping a stove up on bricks. Out here, maybe not, it wouldn't be as bad. I've seen it before. It would make me too nervous. I myself wouldn't deal with that. So the base would be the one thing. So I'm going to come get you guys and bring it forward again. Okay, the next thing that would be a deal breaker for me would be the oven itself. Now this oven door, first of all, it doesn't have a handle. I made the handle. You can see this homemade handle here. It came without a handle. And the door is a little, there we go. I got to get it so that the hinges work a little bit better. I think I got to get in there and just scrub them up and then put some food grade grease on it. But your oven, you want to be, when you find one for inexpensive, check the oven out. Make sure it doesn't have any holes in it. Because how this works is you start a fire over here, and then after the fire really gets going, you close the damper down, and the flames go up and around the oven, and the heat circulates around the oven. Of course, if flames and heat are circulating around it, so is the smoke. And the smoke, if you have holes in your oven, you're going to have smoky flavored food. Now, a lot of people think, oh, that's great. You know, they're like, oh, I love smoky ribs and things like that. And if that's the main reason you want an oven, then, hey, have a hole in it. But for cakes and things like that, it's not as good. So that would be a deal breaker for me. I am a baker. If you're not a baker, it may not be a big deal breaker for you, but it would be for me.